there. See the smoke? Smoke there.
Stage 3 is return appropriate fire.
Time spent in preparation is always time well spent, often lives well saved, sometimes even the difference between success and failure. With so many individual tasks to be coordinated and synchronized, the action on the objective must be rehearsed in every detail and every man briefed individually.
Reaction to contact. What do you do when you get shot at? This video is going to focus on the individual tasks that you need to do when taking immediate and accurate fire. What's important about the individual skill while taking fire is within a team element, if you can do all these skills correctly, it not only ups the absolute effectiveness of your team, but it means that your team leader can rely on you. And when your team leader can rely on you and he can rely on all of his men in his team, it ultimately means that he can detach from the situation, leave the fighting to his riflemen because you're doing the right thing, and he can detach, deal with the situation, lead, and ultimately win that firefight. Whether you've initiated the contact, you're ambushed, or happen to stumble across the enemy, you find yourself with bullets flying, these 3 stages are going to apply. You're going to constantly be using these and recycling them throughout the firefight. So being effective at these, again, is going to be crucial to you being an effective team member and your survival. So how do you know that you've actually been shot at? Well, the first indication is going to be a crack. This is the sound of the round flying overhead, breaking this sound barrier. There's fantastic videos online that you can watch and listen as different ammunition, weapon types, ranges make different signatures. After the crack is going to be a distinctive thumping sound. This will be the rounds either impacting the ground near you or beyond you. Again, depending on the temperature and the environment, knowing what these sound like is going to be crucial to knowing when you're under fire. But either way, if you start to hear these sounds, if you know that rounds are impacting you, or worse, a friend's been shot, you've got to immediately go into your personal reaction to contact. The first thing you're going to do is turn to the direction of the fire. This can be indicated by a contact left, contact right, contact front, or contact rear. Once you've immediately faced what you believe is the direction of the fire, you're going to run in a zigzag for a short few steps. Do not spend a lot of time running to cover. Imagine that the enemy is shooting at you. If you know you had sights on you, you would not be staying up for a long time. So instead, use a short zigzag to confuse the enemy. And again, if you were shooting a target, what would you want that target to do if you wanted to hit it? You'd want it to stay still. So your first thing, turn to face the contact, direction, run in a very short 3 to 5 paces in a zigzag to confuse the enemy. While doing so, you're going to use your emergency battle sights. These are your red dots or simply looking over your rifle. You want to shoot the enemy. He may be concentrating on you, but if you turn and everyone starts shooting, it's going to confuse him. So while you're turning to face the enemy, once you're in that direction, you're going to get off a few rounds while running in a zigzag, simultaneously hitting the ground. This means taking a knee or going prone. Now that you're down on the ground, we can initiate stage 2. Stage 2 is find appropriate cover. Now remember, just because we've made contact, we may have good cover near us, but we cannot stay up for long. Our first reaction is to return fire, get to the ground. Now we're on the ground. If we're in an open area, you're going to get as low as possible, or use micro-terrain. Micro-terrain is small divots and imperfections in the terrain around you. If you have a berm or a hill or a tree, now is the time to go to it, but you're going to crawl. Once we get on the ground, we're going to, again, use our emergency battle sights, fire 1 or 2 shots, and or we are going to roll to the left or right, or crawl prone a few steps. The reason for this is when we got down, we did our drill, we're down, he knows where you've gone down. So it's important once you get to this position, we've got to move from the original place that we were. We have to change it. Otherwise, he's just gonna put his sights on us and shoot us when we get up. So it's crucial that we change our position. So stage 2, get down, change your position, crawl to micro terrain, and then we can go to stage 3, which is re-engage. Stage 3 is return appropriate fire. This means finding and locating the enemy. Now, if you're on your own, this may be difficult, but if you're within a team, it can actually be very easy and you can rely on each other to do that. So you're going to look for, locate the enemy. We're going to do a video on how to do that effectively and how to communicate it effectively. Once you've located the enemy, you are then going to give or receive a fire control order. This will often be from the team leader, but again, if you're on your own, you're going to have to decide that. Most importantly, during this stage, you're going to conserve ammo. Make every shot count. When it comes to finding and locating the enemy, there are 2 ways to do it. The first way is the 3 Ds: distance, direction, and description. The second way, especially if you're a team leader, is to utilize the GRIT acronym. Group, which is who's shooting; range, which is how far the enemy is; identification, where the enemy is; and type, that indicates the type of fire. Again, we're going to do an entire video on this, so don't worry about that for now. But I wanted to give you guys a quick introduction into what is next with this stage 3, returning accurate fire. Now let's talk about types of fire. We have rapid and deliberate. Now I want you guys to actually go out and practice this, because people don't realize how quickly we can go through magazines. The first type of fire, which will often be given as a fire control order, is rapid. You're going to do this when you first engage the enemy. But remember, our first initial reaction is going to be firing off a few rounds in the direction of the contact. This again is to distract our shooter or the person trying to attack us. Rapid fire is summed up as 30 rounds a minute, or 30 rounds in 60 seconds. This means that with 8 magazines, a combat loadout, you can only fight for 8 minutes. The second type is deliberate. Deliberate fire is 10 rounds per minute. This is really slow and focused. And I'm going to show examples of doing this out on the range for you guys so you can actually hear the cadence of this. One problem with training with airsoft guns is each mid-cap magazine has about 120 rounds. So it actually fools us into thinking we can fire more than we actually can. The truth is, even with 8 to 10 magazines, you can only fight for 10 minutes, and that is not a long time. So it's very crucial to get disciplined with an accurate rate of fire, especially difficult while under stress, pressure, and getting bloody shot at. 2 notes that I want to bring to you guys' attention while doing these drills is not only for yourself as an individual, but working as a team. I spoke to a few guys that have done this professionally and have seen combat many times, and they both had 2 things to say that stuck out. The first one is make sure that you keep and maintain situational awareness. This means when you're initially turning to that contact, you're being aware of who's in front of you. Your patrol formation has a lot to do with this. You could have friendlies in front of you. If you're in a line and you get a contact front, remember your drills to split up. Part of that situational awareness also is maintaining that line of fire. Look to your left and right. Make sure you know where your buddies are. The last thing pertaining to situational awareness is the ability to detach. Remember, your job as a rifleman within a platoon is to accurately engage the enemy. That way your leader can detach, look at the situation, and make a logical decision. It's not your job to do that as a rifleman. So be the best individual rifleman you can so your leaders can actually lead. But with that, don't get sucked into the optic. It's very common to get very tunnel visioned in these optics. Keep both eyes open, actively look up to your left and right, know where your teammates are, and as my friend said, keep awareness and allow yourself to realize how the battlefield is developing around you. We're going to do a whole video on working in a team, But going back to ammo conservation, one thing that you have to realize is if you all engage the enemy at the same time and start shooting, you may all have to reload and run out of ammo at the same time. So if you're in a team, get a cadence going. The team leader will set the rate of fire, and then each person fires going down the line. Again, we're going to do an entire in-depth team video on this, but if you're watching this now and you're working with other people, that's a really good technique that you can use to ensure you're not all reloading and you don't all bloody run out of ammunition at the same time, which can be a pretty awkward situation. Right now, I'm going to show you footage of an example of rapid fire. And now, deliberate fire. So there you have it, individual reaction to contact and the 3 stages that you have to do to actively and effectively engage the enemy when fired upon. Guys, thank you so much for watching. So much more to come, and these are essential skills, so do not be scared to go out and practice them safely and legally. With that said, thank you so much for the support, the time. I cannot thank you guys enough. I'm having a ton of fun doing this. I really hope you guys are enjoying these skills and watching them. With that, closing notes today, applicable. You might be stuck in that fight. You might be stuck in that situation. Don't be scared to get stuck in initially. But once you've settled in the situation, just like our react to contact drills, remember to get up from your sights, look around, detach, and reassess the situation and go from there. All right, guys, thanks so much. Look after your mates, look after each other, and I'll see you on the next one.